Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome back to round 4 of season 3 of our F125 My Team career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here at the Jeddah Corniche for the Saudi Arabian GP. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Bahrain, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. For probably the first time since Monaco back in season 1, we were actually in the fight for the victory. Now, sadly, didn't quite come off. Unfortunately, Max Verstappen made it 3 wins from the opening 3 Grand Prix and has continued to dominate things up at the front of the standings. But our second podium of the year so far means that we are now just 1 point behind Lando Norris for P2 in the Drivers' Championship. The Dutchman, he is on an incredible run of form so far this campaign. It's a shame the same can't be said for our teammate Alex Albon. After 2 straight mechanical failures, our Thai teammate is really hoping that things can go a little bit better for him over the course of this weekend. But yeah, as we all know, the Jeddah Corniche, one of the toughest circuits on the F1 calendar. This place really does require a lot of precision, and that is super important when you're obviously trying to, win races and, fight towards the front of the order. Now, luckily, we are still getting a few more upgrades coming into the car, and I think we're going to give Isaac Hadjar those at the moment. As you can see, McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes all very close in terms of performance, and then Williams, Aston Martin, Haas and ourselves all pretty even as well at this stage of the year. So there is a lot of work still going on behind the scenes. We've been really trying to ride on the momentum that we've built early on this campaign as well, trying to get those facility upgrades, coming in thick and fast there. Basically, every single time one gets done, I'm slapping on another one as well. Of course, if you're new, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel. We are trying to hit 150,000 subs. As well, if you want early access to all of these videos, you can click the join button down below. But yeah, without further ado, then let's head back to Saudi Arabia.
Welcome to the Jeddah Corniche, one of the fastest circuits on the calendar. But let's see who will be fastest of them all. We're about to set the grid for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Yes, it's qualifying.
Well, in those opening 3 Grand Prix, then I've been very happy to sneak through and get into Q3 in all of those sessions. Here, though, on the Jeddah Corniche, I'm really hoping we should make it through and into Q3. Knowing my luck, that'll probably now mean we end up narrowly missing out in Q2 then, but hopefully we can try and get through these first couple of sessions with just a single run. I want to see Albon deliver here. That's what we really need. Our teammate, not much confidence in the second car at the moment. Obviously has had a lot of bad luck recently, but even Australia didn't go particularly well. Isaac Hadjar, I know, is having a pretty good 2025 season so far. Liam Lawson has been a bit more of a rival against him in recent races.
That's P19.
It's just like trying to hang on to the car there through sector 1. Purple through that first sector. That's what we want to see. I'm really trying to see. Oh, I thought Doohan might give me a slipstream there down towards the end of sector 2, but he doesn't fancy it. That being said, though, we did get a faint draft from the Alpine driver. I mean, look at that. Purple sector 1, purple sector 2 at the moment. This lap coming together quite nicely. I believe everybody else has had at least 1 time on the board, but it's just how competitive they are through the final corner. Try and get on that loud pedal nice and early as we make the run back towards the line. It is going to be a 125.1, top of the board. Look at that though, Franco Colapinto up in P2. Williams are flying. Well, there we are then. By the end of Q1, I don't think any of us were expecting this to be our top 4. Isaac Hadjar, George Russell, Franco Colapinto, and Esteban Ocon there. Max Verstappen down in P6, just ahead of those Ferraris. Once again, though, Albon out in Q1, slower than both Audi cars there. Both Haas also out in that first session, as well as Zach O'Sullivan. So Aston Martin, Honda, they get both cars into Q2, so I'm sure they'll be happy with that. But yeah, boy oh boy, Albon, he needs to find something, and find something fast. 0.4 of a second though, covering our top 11. Whoever gets knocked out is going to be rather unlucky. Heading out then for our first run in Q2, Yuki Tsunoda just did a 124.4, so this is clearly already, we're starting to see some of the lap times ramp up from some of our closest competitors there. Tsunoda, that is a very good lap, but not impossible to beat, no, either, I think is the important bit. Reckon we could, well, see 1 minute 23s by the end of Q3 there. I was losing myself a bit of time in through turn 4, but at least I didn't rip a wheel off on the inside wall like I usually do. Getting a lot of understeer there. This car not feeling as good on the first run in Sector 2, only green. Well, so far then, just trying to recoup this lap, make sure it's still a good enough time to see us into Q3, because I want to try and save a set of soft compound tyres ready for that final session, then get the power down nice and early again out of that final corner. I think this is probably going to be a mid-25 though, to be honest. 25-1 again, P8, but we are right on the cusp. Well, there we go then, by the end of Q2. Big drama here. Lando Norris, Max Verstappen's main championship threat, out. P11 for our fellow Brit. All he was able to manage there. Verstappen barely squeaked by, though, in P10. So, Williams seemed to be our serious threat here. I reckon if we get it hooked up, we could be a big threat as well. But yeah, Yuki Tsunoda and McLaren flying along. George Russell, he ended up P2 in Q1 and Q2. Could he string it all together and maybe go fastest in Q3? 5 cars from 5 different teams inside your top 5 at the moment. Franco Colapinto, he's another one I think we all need to keep an eye on. Well, Tsunoda then, I hate to admit it, maybe it wasn't such a bad call leaving the team and heading over to McLaren. Currently fastest on a 124.04. Will we see the young Japanese driver about to claim his first ever Formula 1 pole position? 30 seconds left on the clock though, as we make our way up over the start-finish line. We've got to try and get this lap nailed then. Brake just at the 100-meter board, ready for turn 1. Opting for third gear that time round and not taking as much curb through the second part of the chicane there, because we need to try and make sure that we've got the rotation. Take too much curb, sometimes it throws the front end out slightly. In through the S's we go, all the way back up into 7th gear once more. Don't turn in too early, that was good. Really attack the curbs through the exit as well there. We got the power down nice and tidy. We are purple in that first sector, but there goes Leclerc. 1:23.981, a ridiculous lap time. How many times so far this year have we seen benchmarks just being improved even further inside this game there? Through the second chicane, nice and tidy on the exit. Of course, we've got the long run now down towards the second split point. Will we still be purple at the moment? Could we be on what will be quite a shock pole position here? Green in that middle sector, 6th gear, flat to the floor once again on the exit. Try and carry the speed off of the corner. One more braking zone. Lap's been good up to this point, but we cannot do a Max Verstappen. We've got to try and get it hooked up. Braking just at the 100 board once again. Third gear, sorry. Try and get the nose tipped in there. A little bit of a squirrely exit as the back end tried to spin out on me, but we kept it clean and tidy. 24.2, it's P3 on the grid. I don't think we could have got a lot more. Well, Charles Leclerc, that is a utterly ludicrous lap time. And just like we saw at the Hungaroring last weekend, Leclerc on pole out of nowhere, his teammate not even in Q3. So Charles, I'm sure, will be very happy with that one. Tsunoda, what could have been for the young Japanese driver there, narrowly missed out. But we beat Verstappen by just 0.003 of a second. He really did come alive right in Q3 there. He didn't look that competitive up to that point. But 25 laps ahead of us, though. Let's head into the race.
We're here today on the shores of the Red Sea in the Lower Hijaz Mountains to visit one of the newest circuits on the Formula 1 calendar. We're in Jeddah, home to what we all hope is going to be a thrilling Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So let's take a look at the topographical map of the Jeddah Street Circuit. As you can see, a number of challenging corners for the drivers to master here. We'll see just how much the teams have benefited from their time spent in practice this weekend. And like many street circuits, this track has the potential to punish drivers that get it wrong. Let's hope we avoid any safety cars today. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And Yuki Tsunoda completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Hadja, Verstappen, George Russell and Ocon, Sainz, Colapinto, Gasly and Oscar Piastri, Norris, Stroll, Ollie Behrman and Aaron, Doohan, Hulkenberg, Alex Albon and Zach O'Sullivan. Antonelli, Crawford, Bortoletto, and Liam Lawson rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Well, last weekend in Bahrain, we kind of got thrust into the battle for the victory. This weekend, I want to believe that we are here to fight and fight on raw pace. Like I said, we've only won one race in this My Team Career mode so far. It's safe to say, maybe due to some bad balancing from EA, that this has probably been the toughest My Team Career mode we've ever done. But I refuse to give up until we win a World Championship. Let's see what we can do, though. A long, long run in towards turn 1. The two in front of me as well need to get their championship challenges on track. It's 5 red lights. Let's go be lights out, and oh wait, we go then on, not getting off to a particularly good start. Verstappen immediately will say thank you very much there, as we're going to get a little bit pinched in between him and George Russell. I'm going to try and get the elbows out there, as I'm not really sure what George wanted me to do, with Verstappen slowly moving across me as well. So sending it round the outside of the Dutchman, and way too optimistic. That's a bit annoying. Can we try and get going again?
Okay,
yeah, red flag. Can't say I'm surprised.
Let's have you straight to the pit lane, please.
I might have been optimistic there, trying to get back around the outside of Max, down at turn 3. I'll hold up my hand and admit that probably wasn't my wisest move inside this game. What it does mean, though, is everybody might be able to go hard to the end.
We've got another half of this race to go, and there's still a big opportunity there.
I think we've got to try and gamble it. I think the AI might consider it a viable strategy. So, I mean, that might be one of the fastest red flags I've ever had. But we line up again. I've got a 5-second penalty. That's annoying. 5 red lights, though. It's going to be lights out. And, oh, wait, we go once more then, as I hadn't even noticed that Tsunoda had got the jump on Leclerc down in towards turn 1 last time around then, as we will again try and go the long way around Verstappen. No idea where I got a warning for a collision with Ocon. But this time round we will hang on ahead of the Dutchman.
Ever over your ERS mode, so play around with them in your MFD.
Yeah, thank you. Luckily as well, almost binned it going into turn 3, but that was probably not the ideal way to start this Grand Prix there. Is trying to throw the car down through the end of Sector 1. Tsunoda, I mean, he's clearly been told by McLaren, try and kite that lead and pull away at the start. We've seen Ferrari sometimes struggle to fire up their tyres. We know just how good McLaren have been at that IRL this year, looking after them as a stint goes on. But for me now, the objective completely shifts. If there's a safety car or anything like that, it'll be in our best interest to pit and obviously get rid of that penalty for the collision with Verstappen. But obviously if it doesn't, the AI, I can't see them being able to do the entire race on one set of tyres. What I've got to be really careful of is not hitting the walls. That'll put unnecessary wear through the rubber, and that'll really, really cost us there as well. Ocon trying to barge his way down the inside or the final corner. And we will immediately switch back there. Down the inside we will go. And we hang on to P3. I think looking at the timing then, I think Leclerc, yeah, he's definitely dropped out of the range of Tsunoda nice and early on in this race. So Yuki now, his goal will be just trying to run away up at the front of the order there, as Leclerc already perhaps struggling a little bit. But we just try and hang with the Monegasque man there. Definitely not the line we needed through the exit Sector 2. But that DRS will be very, very useful. It will give us a bit of a fight against now Verstappen, who was trying to look down my outside in towards the final corner. We will hang on to it though, once again, trying to defend for the Red Bulls like our life depends on it. Gotta be careful though, as we are burning through battery a lot quicker than I'd like there, as here goes Verstappen around the outside. New fast lap of the day by the Dutchman.
Set the fastest lap of the race.
No, he hasn't. That'll be Max Verstappen, Mark. Here we go, one Red Bull. I'm going to look around the outside of one red car, another Red Bull. Trying to have a look around the outside of another red car down at the final corner, but only one of them makes it work there. I think Leclerc just trying to play the patience game early on. Immediately we'll try and get the run back around the outside of Verstappen. Already, though, I don't think these tyres will get to the end. We're putting about 4% wear through the rears a lap. That would mean they'd be up at about 90% by the end of the day. And that's not very viable inside F1 25. So maybe I'm kind of hoping for a safety car at some point this afternoon. But I don't know what strategy the AI will go with. They might box for hards later on and effectively just do the one-stop strategy they were originally planning to. We've got a little bit more wiggle room. I could go mediums, I could go softs. Or if the tyre was suddenly a lot better, I would still be willing to risk it. Well, I wonder if we're slowly starting to see a shift where maybe the hard tyres will become the ones to have in this race. Is again Verstappen. Or try and have a look. That's not ideal. Thank you, Esteban. Just tip me back around into the right direction. That hopefully won't cost us too much then in this GP, but yeah, really struggling actually with rear locking early on. Not ideal. Oh, around such a high commitment circuit as well. There is not getting the car where I need it.
Battery charge is high. Let's use that overtake button a bit more.
Well, I say, I picked up a tiny bit of front wing damage in that incident with Esteban Ocon earlier on. But luckily, yeah, it hasn't really affected my pace. I wonder if he's got a bit more front wing damage, because he's been dropping away from Verstappen and Leclerc rather rapidly in this Grand Prix. Like I said, I still certainly don't think the hard tyres are going to be able to go to the end of the afternoon, but we might need to try and throw something at this. Something a little bit different to the rest of the field. Maybe, you know, a lucky safety car or something like that. But yeah, I can't help but feel, of course, with the red flag that we brought out early, if I'm then the only driver that can make a strategy work, probably not a great look. Oh, there we go. There we go. Leclerc, Verstappen, Tsunoda, all into the pit lane. So there we go. We will now take the lead of the GP for the first time. And I think, yeah, Verstappen had already got the jump on Yuki by the time they got eaten.
Look into changing your ERS mode in the MFD for a more conservative burn rate, or you might want to try.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I know what I'm doing. Leave me alone. No, Yuki, I think, was still ahead then of the Dutchman by the time they came in. So we're going to try and go one more lap after this one. Of course, we're going to have to serve that penalty as well, which might not be the worst thing in the world. I think it was last season. Was it here? Where we had a penalty and it cost me a couple of places right at the end. Can't quite remember off the top of my head. But yeah, Yuki, what is he going to be able to do against Verstappen? There is still a long way to go in this race. Well, Tsunoda and Verstappen then immediately starting to battle, immediately starting to cost each other a little bit of time. But they're still going much quicker than me at the moment. I think I'm probably going to come out just behind, I think it's George Russell and the Ferrari of Lando Norris in this race. Obviously, once we've taken that 5-second penalty as well. So, yeah, we're going to still have a lot of recovery work to do by the end. I want to believe a podium is still doable here, unless something dramatic happens towards the end of the race. Or just about get the car slowed down on the way into the pit lane. But this is going to be a very long stop then for the Cadillac team. So far this year, we've had quite a few incidents and issues as an organisation. Oh, they're not even serving the pen.
Okay, let's go now. Come on. Perfect job from you and the crew there, mate. We're delighted with that. Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now.
Well, despite that, we've still come back out behind Norris and Russell in this GP, but I thought you had to serve 5-second penalties in the pit stops on this game. Apparently, it's only the 10-second penalties then. So, yeah, we've got a lot of work to try and do to not only get back past these guys, but hopefully get to Leclerc and build a gap over him. Maybe not such a bad thing that we came out where we did, because I think Sainz would probably have been quite a difficult customer to get by. Well, unless your name's Charles Leclerc, it seems like most drivers in this Grand Prix have a dance partner late on in the day. 9 laps remaining of this race, and we want to try and get around Russell and Norris as quickly as we can and try and hunt down that second Ferrari. Of course, we don't know who my main championship rivals are going to be by the end of the season. I think if Verstappen wins today, it's going to be very difficult for anybody to even get a look in at the World Championship against the Dutchman there as well. Russell, big straight line speed in that Mercedes car. Shortly now he's going to line up a move on Lando Norris out into the second of the back straights. But we're just going to try and prepare ourselves ready for the run back down in towards turn 1. Norris swings defensive. Russell, just doesn't quite commit to it in the end. These two many great battles are back in their time as Formula 2 rivals, or F2 or GP2. I think it was still... No, it was F2 by then, wasn't it? As Russell then trying to defend from Lando once again, or vice versa, sorry, I should say. And we try and get a switch back on George through the exit turn 1 there. The Mercedes gets a little bit squirrely, and we will immediately capitalise.
Keep going.
But it's quite crazy how one small issue at the start of a Grand Prix can have such big ramifications by the end of it. Norris, though, does seem to be going a little bit quicker than his teammate Leclerc, but we got to try and get around this second Ferrari car. Of course, currently P2 in the World Championship. Lando, I'm sure, will have been told that I got a 5-second penalty. But he'll also know it's probably within his best interest to try and defend for as long as he can, as we will only just keep the car inside track limits there. I thought Lando was going to defend a little bit more in towards that first corner, but he left the door slightly open, and we barged through it. I was really hoping we could get the gap over Lando quite nice and quickly here, but at the moment, doesn't look like it's going to happen. And all this is doing is helping bring the Ferrari up to his teammate. There goes Norris. Nothing I can do on the run back down in towards turn 1 there, as Norris will say thank you very much. Let's then get a big switch off the exit turn 2 there. In fact, no. We were almost more vulnerable to George Russell behind. Gasly 7 seconds back. Got to make sure we don't lose time to him in the dying stages. I mean, P6 even wouldn't be the worst result in the world. But when we thought we could compete for a win today, it is painful. Up at the front, Verstappen leading. Tsunoda has dropped into P2, but is not dropping away. Well, about to start the last lap then of this Grand Prix. Verstappen, he had a pretty nail-biting end to last race weekend, but this one I think is going to be even closer. Tsunoda reclaims the lead once more, but the Dutchman, like trying to work out when the last time someone won the opening 4 Grand Prix of a Formula 1 World Championship was. Probably Schumacher back in 2004. Maybe I'm forgetting someone since then. Well, a similarly dominant campaign. I don't believe Hamilton ever did. But as Russell tries to have a look down the inside at turn 1, don't think any of us are quite going to get close enough to Leclerc. But Tsunoda hanging on to the lead up at the front of the order, ahead of the Dutchman. Max Verstappen, though, is he just biding his time on the final lap of this Grand Prix? Is he waiting just for that final DRS zone here? Of course, there's been a lot of battling going on behind Russell. They've been kind of silently waiting in the wings, as that's going to deny us then an opportunity and actually give me another penalty late on in this race. 3 seconds. Luckily, the gap to Sainz 10.5. So as long as I don't drop out the DRS now, we should be good. But Verstappen, seems to be struggling a little bit towards the end, as am I. Trying to get the power down here. Has Tsunoda just bided his time? Did he sit behind the Dutchman for a few laps and just look after his tyres, so he knew he had the fight right at the end? Let's just wait and see, though. Verstappen still closing back in again on him. It's going to be all about trying to get the run down in towards the final corner. Yuki Tsunoda, I don't believe I've seen him win a race so far inside F125 in this series, but I have seen him win elsewhere. And look, as they make their way in towards the final corner, Verstappen has got nothing against him. Yuki Tsunoda joined McLaren from our team last season into this. He is going to stop Verstappen's reign of terror at the start of the year. Didn't get pole, took the lead at the start, never looked back. Yuki Tsunoda, a Formula 1 Grand Prix winner. For us, it is P6.
Yuki Tsunoda takes the checkered flag and wins. From lights out to the checkered flag, this is what they're racing for. It's points and a trip to the podium. What a victory for a very popular young man. Yuki Tsunoda takes the top step today.
Well, there we are then. Yuki Tsunoda by just 0.7 of a second. McLaren, I don't believe they won a race last season, but they are back on top today. Max Verstappen couldn't quite do enough in the end, but I tell you what, he did give him a good run for his money on a circuit where the Red Bull had no right to be fighting right at the front. Leclerc in P3, just ahead of Lando Norris, who had a great recovery from 11th on the grid. George Russell in P5 ahead of myself. Luckily, our penalties in the end made no difference. P6, unfortunately, all we were able to muster. Just ahead of Carlos Sainz, Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon, and yeah, Williams. They looked so good earlier on. 8th and 10th in the end, but at least Franco Colapinto got a point on the board as well. Alex Albon, a pretty anomalous race for him, down in P15. And of course, it was just Oscar Piastri who failed to see the checkered flag. What does that do to our World Championship? Well, it means Verstappen now a 38-point lead over Yuki Tsunoda, who is up to P2 then. Lando Norris still in 3rd there as we drop down to 4th, I should say. Still ahead of Leclerc, George Russell, Ocon, Gasly, and you can see, yeah, Carlos Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Antonelli, Colapinto, Lawson, and Doohan, all with points on the board. That's quite impressive when you think just how dominant a few teams have been so far. Red Bull 18 clear of Ferrari in the Constructors. McLaren now re-jump us into P3. Like I said, our main focus is to try and beat Mercedes over the course of the campaign. Sadly, we did lose a few points to George here as well. But Williams there still ahead of Haas, Aston, and Alpine. Thank you all so much for watching, though. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready, I believe, for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix.